Can I request those who are here for the introductory session to please switch on your camera so it becomes a very fruitful and interactive session, please. Now, those who have not switched on, they are the team from the Wisdom Foundation, so that's all right. In fact, even the other members from the organization can also switch on the cameras. There's no harm. So you all can hear me loud and clear? Perfect. All right. So warm welcome to all of you for this an insightful session to the Eternal Wisdom, a Manual to Life workshop. It is an introductory talk, as it was briefly informed. This workshop, the Eternal Wisdom Manual to Life, is a workshop which is spread over a day and a half. So here you would get a bird's eye view as to what the offering is. You'll get a panoramic view of the various salient features of this workshop. I would give myself 45 minutes to give you a general understanding, an outline of what's to expect in this workshop, and then we have 15 minutes if you require more. I'll be more than happy to clarify any questions or clarifications. Now, the title of the workshop is Eternal Wisdom. So let me justify first and foremost what this term eternal means. Now, the term eternal suggests something that is ageless, that doesn't die with time, which only suggests that here are these principles, these value systems, this know-how, which has a great relevance to our lives today. In fact, a very great relevance to the current crisis or the challenges, whatever it be. It could be the current pandemic, it could be personal issues, it could be the challenges you face at the work front, whatever it may be. Eternal means something which has a relevance. It is something which is applicable to all periods of time, something which was applicable in the past, it's very applicable today, and it shall be applicable to the future times. It's applicable to all walks of life. It doesn't matter whether you're a corporate, whether you're a professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a sportsman, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're a student. It doesn't matter which walk of life, which profession you lead. Here are these principles. It has a relevance in your life. Now, here is a wisdom which addresses all types of problems. I said eternal is something which doesn't perish. It exists all periods of time. It deals with people from all walks of life. It deals with all types of problems. It helps you manage your health. It helps you manage your mind. It helps you manage your stress, whether you want to lead a stress-free life, stress management, health management, mind management, time management, relationship management, wealth management, whatever you want to manage in your life, this wisdom, this eternal wisdom has a role to play. Now, what is this wisdom? This wisdom, we are calling it as something, a manual. A manual is something like a handbook, something you can fall back on. A manual which deals with life and living. in plain, simple terms, in making it familiar for us to understand, this wisdom we are talking about is a instruction manual to life and living. Now, one of the most important things many fail to realize, why I say fail to realize, is I have gathered through being in classrooms, dealing with mindsets, with very intelligent, very well-educated, well-placed in their life, in their corporate life. I've realized, I've understood that they have not looked at life as you look to any other skilled work. Now, I hope you are with me. Huh? You're wondering, what is this fellow who suddenly comes into my life and starts giving me a lecture? I hope you are with me. I know you are. So those of you who are on screen are there. Those of you are not seen on screen, I don't know where you are. Satish ji. Namaskaram, sir.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Namaskar, good evening.
Namaskar, sir.
Are you with me, sir?
Yeah, I'm there.
I was only making a statement that life and living should be treated like any other skilled work. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
Now, when we say a skill, what is your understanding of a skill?
Skill is something which you pick up to do something. It is something which you can acquire by practice or by training.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, just to give you a brief idea as to how I go about doing these workshops, is I try to make it as interactive as exchange possible. And the objective is not to gauge your level of understanding, but just to draw it out. So please don't be offended by me trying to seek some clarification from all of you. All right. So perfect, Satish ji. A skill, I put it in 3 simple terms. A skill is something that you learn it. You may have an affinity to it. Like I may have an affinity towards singing or music or any particular art for that matter. But skill is something you learn it, you practice it, and you perfect it. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, that's very aptly put.
Thank you. I may have an affinity, but I have to learn it, I have to practice it and perfect it. Now, we can understand that with every activity we pick up in life, as I've said, it could be cooking, it could be singing, it could be music, it could be sport, but not many out there. And I say that with great certainty and conviction. Not many out there look at life also as a skilled work, any other skilled work. If you want to live life, now apply the same principle. What are the 3 steps, Satish ji?
Learn, practice, perfect.
Perfect. I have not got a perfect answer so far, sir. So I'm actually very impressed. Thank you. Learn, practice, perfect. How many of us can claim to have learned these instructions of life, practiced, experimented on these values, on these principles, because they are not opinions, they are not belief systems, they are not views of people. These are facts and laws which govern life. That is this wisdom, please. Science is a branch of knowledge which deals with the laws which govern the world. This wisdom is a branch of knowledge which deals with the laws which govern life. So it is imperative, just as you must learn and practice and perfect any skill, so also you must learn and practice and perfect the very art of living a perfect life. It's an art, it's a skill. Just like flying an aircraft, it's an art. I know my cousin who takes a fascination towards becoming a pilot. And it's not that he wants to become a professional pilot. He says, I have a, what do you call that? Satishji, what would you call that?
Passion.
Perhaps a passion, and he has got a little expensive passion. So he goes and learns in a private flying school somewhere out in the US. So there is perhaps a certain accessibility, a certain luxury he can afford, but he has a passion for flying. And he says, it's not easy, uncle, to learn this art of flying an aircraft. Thank you, Satishji. So what I'm trying to make a point is, if you don't put an effort, an attempt to upgrade your knowledge and technology in any field of activity, you will find you're not able to keep in pace with development and technology and advancement, isn't it? If you don't constantly upgrade your knowledge and understanding, even your phone, you got an iPhone, I'm most certain most of you would have one, if not one, more than one, a few, a two or three. And every now and then you go and say, software update. Now, why you want to do a software update? Because if you don't update it, you may not have the latest. A point would come, you will not be able to enjoy the best what that gadget has to offer. Now, how many of us have looked at life? I'm not challenging anyone. I'm only trying to make you all think and question to life. That life and living also must be looked at any skilled work. You may say, sir, thank you very much. You made your point. Point noted. Thank you. I can sense the silence, as it were. But what is the price humanity is paying for not heeding this wisdom? I'm not talking of Eastern, I'm not talking of Western, I'm not talking of Indian, I'm not talking of any region or a period. I'm talking of humanity at large. These are the principles or laws which govern human life. And what is the price humanity is paying for not heeding this wisdom? I'm being very generic. I don't have the luxury of actually interacting as much as I would love to, but just a serious point for your consideration. The price humanity is paying for not heeding this wisdom is, as we have seen with development and advancement and technology, the world has become a haven for us. Wherever we look around, we're actually pampered with luxuries and comforts. In fact, this afternoon, early afternoon, one of my students, he bought a new car. It was a battery car. And he said, Guruji, sir, I would be very happy if you drive the car. I said, it's my joy. I've never driven a battery car. I would be battery car, is what you call them nowadays. Huh? Electric, yeah, electric cars, I remember being once driven in a Tesla. Oh my God. He said, Guruji, just tighten you up, seat belt, hold up. And in a matter of few seconds, we touched 0 to 100. I said, I didn't know the engine was on, and I know what it was, but so he told me to drive. And when I drove, I said, is the car on? Yes, it's on. Now, what am I getting at? There is comforts and conveniences, luxury and press button comforts. The standard of living of ours is skyrocketing. What was the development? What was the world 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago? And what's the world today? A world of change in what the world has to offer to you, isn't it? As the standard of life, as the standard of living is on the rise, sadly, alarmingly, the quality of life is deteriorating. Now, it's not just my observation. There are facts, there are studies, there is evidences to establish this observation. Papa Ragaru, The point I'm making is, as the standard of living is on the rise, the quality of life is deteriorating. Do you agree, sir? As I said, these are facts. They're out for you to observe and take a note of. Are you able to? Any difficulty? Okay.
Yeah,
Would you try now?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I
Yes.
agree with you, but the only comment I want to make is that, as you said, there's a skyrocketing of these facilities and technology. The man is also the human being is also compelled to catch up with the technology. In the process, he has a trade-off: the catch up with the technology or catch up with the wisdom. Perhaps for him, easy thing is to give up wisdom than the technology. He has to show off in the world of show business.
Absolutely.
That's a trade-off.
Now, whether you want to trade off your life for living, or you want to make the choice for living for life, or you want to be smart and say, I would want to embrace both. That's a choice we have, don't we?
I agree, but what kind of pressures you have on you are also very important. You are not individual as long as you are in society. So maybe the compulsions are much higher than his personal compulsion. I'm just trying to justify even what I do. I know it's wrong, but you're not individual beings, you're social beings.
Yet I would certainly agree with you. Yet I'm sure you will appreciate when I say this, that we are all defined by the choices we make.
Obvious.
You have chosen to be educated. You have chosen to work hard. So you're well educated, well placed in society. I chose, if I made wrong choices, I will limit myself to such opportunities.
Yeah, but
yes, please. Yes, please.
Unfortunately, the wisdom seems to be a long-term gain, whereas the other one is a short-term gain. We chase the short-term gains.
It's like gaining health. Would I want to compromise my own health for whatever external pomp and show or the life I want to live?
Cross the bridge when it comes. That's the attitude we all have.
So, and yet don't we learn that preventive maintenance is far better than breakdown maintenance?
I agree.
That's what wisdom teaches you. Wisdom is common sense. I'm not talking of some wisdom out there which is not accessible to the masses. I would not call that as wisdom. If something is accessible or limited to a few section of the society of mankind, it's not something which is eternal. The very definition is challenged. That's what I said. Eternal wisdom is something which is applicable to all walks of time, to all walks of life. It deals with the old challenges faced by humanity. So it's something which you can embrace, I can embrace. As a layman, anybody out there can pick up this manual and get benefited. So it's not an exclusive thing. It's something which is, in fact, essential.
No, there's no denial on that, of course.
No, I know we're talking the same thing, but the price we are paying unknowingly, we give our children the best education. We send them to these Western management institutions. They send them to the best educational institutions. We're willing to pay the price, which could be deep into our pockets. And yet, you find that with all that education, this fundamental question I would ask anybody out there, as I said, I always end up interacting with the educated. They are able to understand the language I speak. They're well placed, they're able to relate to this wisdom. But yet they say, sir, I confess, I am not able to keep my mind. I have not ensured my peace of mind. the quality of life. There is conflict and friction, there is disharmony, there's discontentment, there's stress and misery, there's depression, there's fatigue, there's anxiety, there's worry, there is sleeplessness. What is the disease where you can't sleep? I don't know certain things because I've never experienced it. So pardon me for my ignorance. Insomnia. Huh? No, I can only know what I've experienced. I have a little experience. So you have sleepless nights. In the most, you go and boast of and say, I've got the best mattress out there in town. You know how these mattress companies advertise. Even they show a polar bear sleeping. And if a polar bear were to roll, your partner next to you will not know that you got up or got onto the bed. So it's so comfortable and cozy, and you will go into a heavenly experience, and yet in that heavenly bed you can't find sleep. I don't know who can give you sleep, man, if you can't sleep there. And you find people sleeping on pavements, on platforms, on roadside. I say, blessed are those who have sound sleep. It's not roti makan pakada kapada. I say, blessed are those who have a capacity to sleep. I know people who come to me and confess that they're not able to sleep. So what I'm trying to establish is, if you have not embraced this wisdom directly or indirectly, if you have not understood that living is a skill or an art and you must learn it, practice it, perfect it, you would be subjected to this disparity between the standard of life and standard of living. As I've said, if you have embraced this wisdom, I would assure you that you have certainly ensured your peace of mind. I'm just giving you step by step a few concepts so that I paint a picture as to what this eternal wisdom manual to life is. Now, if we talk of peace of mind, how does one attain peace of mind? Now, this is something which you should stand up and take note of because it concerns your life. And I would, if I were you at the receiving end, I would stand up and take note because it concerns my life. And I'm giving out with a great concern because it's something which transformed me and helped me. And I want to do that to help you, to save, to uplift you, to save you out of sheer ignorance. Not that you do not know, but just an upgrade button. Remember, you have to upgrade, software update. How does one attain peace? Stress is nothing but your wrong relationship with the world. It is not the world that gives you joy or sorrow as you firmly believe. It is not the world that gives you joy or sorrow. It is your wrong relationship with the world. That is stress. So peace is your right relationship with the world. Now, there's two terms, right and wrong. I can't go into the greater detail, but all I can establish. I'm sorry, can you all hear me? Right. I don't know, somehow I got muted. Somebody doesn't like me speaking, so they've muted me. You know? This is the thing, you know. This is the reality of life, you know. But I must learn to find peace and happiness within myself, not what people do to me. You know, what to do. So as I was saying, it's not the world that gives you peace or sorrow. It's not what you relate to, but how you relate to it. It's not what you relate to, it's how you relate to it. And in order to bring out that right relationship, you need the capacity, you need the clarity of thought. You need to make the right assessment. So when you talk of assessment, there are two factors. One is the actual nature of the object or being vis-a-vis your expectations. Remember, I suppose is Archanama. What are the two things that come to the forefront when we talk of assessment? The two things I just mentioned are the two things which come to the forefront. I said earlier, stress is your wrong relationship with the world. Peace is your right relationship with the world. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Now,
Sir.
if you want to establish a right relationship with the world, you need to have proper assessment. All right?
Yes. Yes.
And when you talk of assessment, there are two aspects. The two aspects are the very nature of the world
Yeah.
vis-a-vis your expectations.
Expect.
Expectations,
Sir.
expectation vis-a-vis the nature, the object of being. Now, for example, I'll help you understand the concept. For example, what is the nature of bitter gourd? Karela. What is the nature of Karela?
Yes, sir.
What is its nature? How do you describe
It's
the
bitter.
taste?
It's bitter.
Chedu kada, chedu.
It's-
Somebody's helping.
yeah.
Somebody's
Yes, it's
helping you.
bitter.
Tell
Yeah.
that person also to come into the screen.
It's bitter.
Now, who is that who is helping you from side?
My husband.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Ah, namaskaram. Welcome, sir. What is this, sir? You are not seen on screen, sir.
We
We both are not fitting in one screen.
on
Sir.
screen, sir. We are a little bit bigger.
No, I would not get to that topic, sir, today. No, perfect. So the nature of bitter gourd is its bitterness.
Yes.
The nature of sugar is its
Sweetness.
Sweetness.
sweetness. The nature of a fox.
Cunning.
What is the nature?
Cunning.
Correct. And the nature of a dog is
Faithful.
faithful. Now, can you change the nature of a fox? Can you change the nature of a dog? Can you change the natural nature of a bitter gourd or sugar? You can't, isn't
No.
it? What is the nature of monsoon?
Monsoon.
What is the nature of monsoon? It must
Gives
pour
rains.
and pour and
Yeah.
gives rain. It will
Yeah.
be wet and soggy, and it may disturb your
Daily
normalcy.
routine.
It disturbs your daily routine.
Yes.
What is the nature of summer?
Very
Heat.
hot.
It's hot and hot.
Yeah.
Frothing and fuming in you're not managing that heat.
Yeah.
Now, yet, now I am no motivated because I have more audience. I thought only those who I'm seeing. So those who are not seen also are there.
Yes.
Right, sir. Thank you. Wonderful connecting. So the nature, what I'm trying to get at is, there is everything in life has its nature, and everything in life is true to its nature. So when you deal with the world, you must understand the world to be its nature vis-a-vis what are your expectations out of it. So you would find people there who are egoistic and arrogant, the team you work with in your organization, the people you interact with day in and day out. There are people who are egoistic and arrogant. There are people who are very humble and very cooperative. There are people who are faithful as a dog. There are people who are cunning as a fox. You can't change that nature. But if you expect a fox to be a dog or a dog to be a fox, you had it. You will have a wrong relationship with the world. So in order to establish a right relationship, you must be able to assess the nature of people, the nature of your team, the nature of your boss, the nature of your environment, the nature of your government, what are the government policies, the nature of your competitors, what products they're putting, what are the advantages, what is the nature of your team, what are the strengths and weaknesses, and accept it. Once you assess a nature, you accept it. You don't sit and complain. You don't complain that why is summer hot? You accept summer to be hot. You don't complain why is monsoon wet? You accept it and enjoy monsoon. You don't complain why is winter cold? You enjoy winter. You adapt to it and enjoy it. But what is expectation? You want the monsoon to be dry. You want the winter to be warm. You want the summer to be cold. And you're constantly grumbling and complaining of what life is. So in order to bring the best out of you and the relationship with the world, you must have the right assessment. Now, the fundamental question, the next question I'll ask is, does the world bring the best out of you? Rajuji, is it Janikaramji?
Yes, sir. Yes, Guruji.
Namaskar.
Namaskar ji.
Sir, if somebody asks you this question, does the world bring the best out of you?
Not necessarily, I think.
Not necessarily. Okay. So what do you need to do to bring the best out of you?
Guruji, you were mentioning about assessment of things or people around you as they are.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, possibly, should we also be assessing ourselves to some extent to understand better, to connect? I'm just trying to understand that.
Indeed. In fact, that's why I said, when you take a stock of how you're relating with the world, am I relating with the world with a certain expectation? Or am I relating with the world with taking a stock of face value, what is being presented to me?
That's right.
So am I, in fact, just to be very technical, I didn't want to go further into it. It's a chain that will lead further and further. But what I would make a point is, when you deal with the world based on your impulses, if you operate on your mind, you're operating on impulses, expectations. But if you're operating on your intellect, then you're talking of assessment, taking a stock. So whether you are dealing with the world based on your emotions, or whether you're dealing with the world based on reason and judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the two driving forces which helps you to relate with the world. So if you deal with the world, if you relate with the world based on your emotions and expectations, you'll invariably have mental accidents, because the world is not designed to satisfy you all the time, isn't it? So you will have unreasonable expectations, you'll have disappointments and distress. But when your expectations are reasonable, when you make a clear assessment of what's my family, what is my workforce, what are my finances, what country I'm living in, what are the government policies, who are my competitors, what is my health, what is the longevity of life do I have, what are my financial commitments, what kind of medical insurance do I need, what kind of financial savings should I have? All of this, you must have a clear stock of life, isn't it? All these facets that you deal day in and day out. I wish I had a fat bank balance. I wish I had a wonderful team. I wish I had no competitors. Whatever I do, I am the king in the market. These are all what you may want. You may wish. I wish India is like Switzerland. India is India, Switzerland is Switzerland. You know, even talking of Singapore, you know, I've been in that part of the world. You know, the Formula One race, you follow Formula One, sir?
Once in a while.
Oh, you follow, isn't it? Are you a Formula One driver by any chance?
No.
Oh. No, for a moment I got a little shock. Then I will check my question, you know. So, in Singapore, the Singapore Grand Prix, as they call it, the Grand Prix happens on the normal roads which are used by the passengers.
Absolutely.
So for that section of the Grand Prix, the road sections are closed, and that becomes the track for the competition. But if you expect, let's say, if you have lived and worked there for a few years and you come back to India, you expect Indian roads to be like Singapore roads you're asking for?
Big disappointment then.
No. Disappoint one thing, blood pressure going high. Every time you take to the road, blood pressure and blood sugar is going high, and then you're cursing everybody and you're hating everybody, and then you will have a hell of a ride. Assessment. When you're here, this is what it is. When you're there, that is what it is. Accept it. Don't expect this to be that, that to be this. You will have problem. But I'm not saying you should not attempt to bring about a change. You should strive to bring about a change, but first start accepting what is being presented to you in life, isn't it?
Perfect. So fundamentally, Guruji, expectation possibly is one thing based on which the disappointment or pressures and stuff like that are directly or indirectly related. One. Second thing is, please advise us that the expectations also keep differing from stage to stage or age to age and so on. So another aspect is that from a material standpoint, as you rightly said, we can easily say, okay, monsoon is wet, summer is hot, stone is a stone, whatever. But when it comes to human beings, it's a big challenge. We would like to seek your advice in this. How do we expect there? Because that's what we are dealing with day in and day out.
Yeah, it makes life very easy if it's a static millennium, isn't it?
Right.
It's in fact very difficult even to assess the stock market, how it's going, because it depends on factors over which nobody has any control. If suddenly some oil pipeline bursts and the oil market goes up and down, the stock market misbehaves. If the American president sneezes and coughs, the stock market goes ups and down. If one country decides to go with other country on war, the stock market goes up and down. Now, do you have control over those factors? So even to assess the stock market, which is constantly fluctuating, you need to have a proper study, a very objective measurement to know how markets behave. So in order to assess with people, deal with people, what requires is a clear understanding of their nature. As I've said, you may find a person is very faithful. You may find another person, he is very unfaithful. He is very cunning or manipulative. So it is important that you're very objective when you're dealing with individuals to define their personality, because every human, in fact, in the workshop, there's an entire section that I deal with. We say every human being is expressing their inner nature known as vasanas. Just like the nature of a cow is to be meek and mild. The nature of a tiger is to be wild and ferocious. You can't change their natures, can you? It is their swabhava, it is their swadharma, it is their own nature. So every human being, every being has their own nature. So it is just important to assess that nature. And once you have right assessment, as you know, Bernard Shaw, I often keep quoting him in the context. Bernard Shaw was once asked, who is the most intelligent man you met in your life? You'll be surprised if you've not heard this answer before. You know what Bernard Shaw said? He remarked, the most intelligent man I met in my life was my tailor. And when asked why, he said he's the only one who takes fresh measurements whenever I go to him. So you got to take fresh measurements in life. You leave home in the morning, your wife was smiling at you. You come back home in the evening, your wife is frowning at you. Fresh measurements. You don't expect your wife to be waiting to receive you with a broader smile than what you left her in the morning with. Fresh measurements. Something must have not gone well, and she is not in the same state. Oh, I must align my expectations because assess her and deal with her differently. You get that? You can't go and ask or demand something when she's not in the right mood. As Socrates says, Socrates, one day, somebody went and asked him, said, should I get married? He said, by all means. But remember, if you get a good one, you'll be a happy man. If you get a bad one, you become a philosopher. And during that process, when this dialogue was happening, he was in a classroom with a few students, and the weather was a bit rough. It was lightning and thunder and raining. And his wife was calling from the house. She was calling for him, and he was so engrossed in the class, he didn't heed. Apparently, she was attending some laundry, and she had a bucket of dirty water, soapy, dirty water. So she came with that dirty bucket water, and she emptied it on him in front of the class members. And that's when he said, when it roars, it pours. See, assessment. You understand, when you know wherever there is a thunder and roaring, it will pour. So when you have that assessment of who your wife is and what she is, when she is, what she is, you will have no problem. You will be able to have a harmonious relationship with her. And it's nothing wrong with her, nothing wrong with you. The problem is whether I'm relating with that person well is the point. It's not whom you're relating to, it's how I'm relating to. Am I relating with mere expectations and emotions, or am I relating with judgment and reason? And that's where the faculty of intellect comes in, sir. And a clear-cut measurement of intellect is measured by the quotient of your wisdom. So it's a wisdom quotient that measures your intellectual quotient.
That's a great point. Yeah. So between the materials and the human beings, that adjective, that what you said, fresh assessment, makes a lot of difference. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome, sir. Most welcome. There's a saying that you must measure twice, but only cut once. Before you do actually cut, you measure twice. So before you commit to an act, make sure you have taken stock and make a right assessment. Thanks for the clarification, sir. Only when you clarify, I'm able to connect as to what you want or where you are coming from, because I do not know you and I want to strike a chord with you. So it really goes a long way in just having that actual connection, because that's when we communicate. That's when we do justice to that little time we're spending together. So the point I had made earlier was, does the world bring the best out of you? What do you need to bring the best out of you? I would say you need a rough world to bring the best out of you. You need a world which stands against you, which challenges you to bring the best out of you. Now, just to examine that statement, just look at a sportsman. Doesn't a strong opponent bring the best out of his talent? Would any one of us want to sit and watch a one-sided match? Boring, I tell you. If you have watched any tennis, it's 6-love, 6-love, 6-1. A top seed ranker with 220th rank, first round match happening in a Grand Slam. It could be Wimbledon, it could be any Australian Open, or it could be American Open. First round, 6-love, 6-love, 6-1, most boring. But the same guy who is playing in the quarterfinal or semi-final, the same match will go for 3 hours. 7-5, 5-7, 7-5, 7-5. That guy has won. He slogged it out. And it's joy. You're almost sitting at the edge of your seat because every point is a game to be remembered. It brings the best out of that person. So a sportsman's talent brings the best out. Just like a surfer enjoys the rough waves. Doesn't a surfer enjoy the rough wave? If you don't remember that sport, I very vividly remember this advert got stuck in my mind long before I even thought of shaving. You know, the advertisement of Ramji. I remember the age of 7 or 8, I saw this advertisement.
Old Spice, Old Spice.
So it was there even your time, sir?
Yeah, before I started shaving, when I looked at it, I wanted to shave. So,
Right.
of course, I also wanted to do surfing. So that was also a very good motivator. But what you say is very right, that a good surfer needs those waves which are rough.
He needs that. And in fact, you go to these certain theme parks and all, they have this artificially created water currents where you're given a surfboard in the controlled environment where you can enjoy, because you don't have a beach or a seafront where you can enjoy this rough waves. So you go into these controlled places, isn't it? And if you don't know how to, you can really have a real splash on your face. It can really hurt you, isn't it? So just like a surfer enjoys the rough waves, a sportsman enjoys a tough competition, so also a businessman would look for a tough competition. When there is a tough and a healthy competition, the business flourishes. So the fundamental principle we must learn to life is don't complain if the world is rough. There's a beautiful saying, our strengths often increase in proportion to the obstacle imposed on it. Good to see Vikram, you're there. Are you there, Vikram? Vikram Venkatramani. Are you able to hear me, Vikram?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful, Vikram. The quote I just said is, our strengths often increase in proportion to the obstacles imposed on it. What do you make? Does it make some rational sense?
No, I think absolutely. I think whether it's your sports inference or even as a business owner, when you're faced with challenges, you kind of have to dig deep and see what you're made of, right? So whether it's you're drawing upon your own experiences, you mentioned about skills before. That's when you kind of bring everything together and trying to meet those challenges.
So you can relate it with reference to the work, but when it comes to life, how well equipped we are to face what contrary life throws challenges at us, isn't it? And if you are not well equipped, all of us buckle in our ability to relate with the world, isn't it? Rightly said, Vikram. So the best example to understand is the only way to increase your strength of your muscle is to increase the weights. So the greater the weight, the greater the strength. So don't complain if the world is rough. Now, if you do not know how to deal with the rough world, which is beyond your control, what happens when you are unable to deal with the world? I'll have to ask someone. Can I ask Bharatima? G.A. Bharati. Are you there? What happens if you are not able to deal with the rough world?
Guruji, this is Bharati here.
Yes, sir. I think you have logged in. Namaskar. Yes, namaskar. Yes, sir.
I
Please.
understand. If we are not able to really manage the situation, it will become terrible. But we need to understand and how to manage it is a skill which we need to acquire. That's where I think.
We can't manage, we crumble down, I think. Just as we are not able to hold the weight. If you don't hold the weight, the hand falls down, you know. So the same way, if you're not able to hold the stress, we are the ones who are affected. We crumble down, I thought.
Absolutely, man. So when we are not able to manage with what the world throws at you, what happens is we become victims. And that state where you become affected by the world is known as you become emotional, isn't it? You become a victim of situations and circumstances. You must have a strong passion or emotion in whatever you do. I'm very passionate. I'm very full of emotion. I'm very charged while I'm drawing out this message to you all, but I should not get emotional. So to have emotion is a virtue. To become emotional is a curse. So when you are not able to deal what the world throws at you and not able to relate with the world well, and that relationship goes wrong, the price you pay is you become emotional. And it's the intellect that comes in and helps you to manage your emotions. Now, a fundamental difference, Janakaramji, I did mention about the mind and the intellect earlier. The fundamental difference, perhaps a couple of examples I would give you. The mind is like the child in you. The intellect is like the adult. You can't govern your actions by the child in you. You've got to allow the adult in you to make that rational decisions and guide your actions. A second example is the mind is like the flowing rivers. And the intellect is like the strong banks of a river. When the banks are weak, the rivers, which is a blessing to any city, any society, any community, it becomes a curse. It starts inundating the homes and fields and destroys livelihood, family, food, stock. It destroys life, isn't it? So also emotion is a blessing to have that feelings. But once it goes out of control, it's a curse. Now, moving forward, every human has two primary motivations. The two primary motivations everybody is aspiring. I think it was, if I'm not wrong, Papa Rauji, I think he commented earlier, trading in technology for wisdom. Did you not comment that, sir? Right. I don't think it's a wise thing to trade in, sir, because
definitely not.
Definitely not. Thanks for endorsing that. So if I might ask you, if you can put it in your own descriptive way, what are the two primary motivations everybody is aspiring in their life? Everybody.
Well, I think it depends on at what age you are in. And if you look at the age group on this call, we are mostly senior citizens. I think we are looking at a peace of mind. Maybe it was not true 30 years back for many of us. We were chasing materialistic things, undoubtedly. And we took maybe 30, 40 years to realize that was a wrong choice.
I wouldn't want to make judgments or come to conclusions on that. I respect your observation. But what I would want to ask you is, would you have not wanted peace of mind at that point? You certainly wanted, isn't it?
Yes.
One could have compromised it because of not approaching life correctly. But I'm asking fundamentally, what are the two things every human wants? As you rightly said, in fact, in your own answer, you've given it. Everybody wants material prosperity. At the same time, they want peace and happiness. And you want it in one breath. It's like two sides of a sandwich, isn't it? You want prosperity, you want productivity, you want the wealth, you want the material quotient in your life, and you want peace, happiness, harmony, contentment, the spiritual quotient in your life, isn't it? You want this both. But the question is, how many people are able to balance this both?
Unfortunately, they become opposite pairs in our life. Material progress vis-a-vis peace, they turn out to be opposites when you choose one.
But is that just because many people do that? Is that a standard, sir? Can that become a norm? It can't be a norm. Just because everybody is corrupted, therefore you can't use as a justification. So therefore, that is the way to do business. Or I also therefore have to be and need to be corrupted. That can't be a norm, isn't it? So here we are talking about the fundamental urge. Everybody wants that material and spiritual. In fact, these are not, why you're wanting is because these two are integral elements of your personality, sir. It's like I got the right side of my body, I got the left side of my personality, right and the left. I have to balance both sides. So there is the material quotient and the spiritual quotient. Now, talking of this, there are three types of people. Now, please allow me to share. I hope I have the right to share. Right. Now, I'm talking about the three states of mind. Can you all see what is being shared? Perfect. Now, the three states of mind are the inactive state of mind, which brings about inaction. Active state of mind brings about a frenzied action. And there's a transactive state of mind, which brings about an inspired action. So to give the Sanskrit derivative terms, inaction is a state of mind which is known as tamas. Frenzied action is a state of mind which is rajas, and inspired state of mind is sattva. Now I'm interacting with you all, therefore I'm almost coming to the end of the time, but after that I'll be very happy to take any more fresh questions from the floor. So please bear with me. So rajas is a state where you perform frenzied actions which are impoverished in nature and they produce mental agitation. Now, tamas is a state of inaction which produces peace. Now, sattva is a state where you perform actions which are dexterous and they produce peace of mind. This is at the same breath. So you're able to produce actions which are dexterous, efficient, industrious, smart, skillful. At the same time, you're peace, balanced, and equanimous. So majority of the people in the world are prosperous and not peaceful. A small minority are peaceful and not prosperous. A very rare are those who are industrious, prosperous, and peaceful. And here is this wisdom which has a solution, how you can inject dynamism, efficiency, productivity, at the same time combine it with peace of mind. Now, I'll give you quick examples and allow you to ponder on it. A typical example of rajas is perhaps Japan. Japan is a country which is known as the most workaholic. The average working hours there is 18-20 hours. Everybody works. And yet you are amazed at their technology and what they have to offer. There's precision, there's quality. You say it is Japanese technology, you would any day go for it because that's their efficiency. But yet, I do not know whether you all know, Japan is known as the suicide capital of the world. So they are productive, prosperous, but there's no peace of mind in their lives. Other contrasting, you find Bhutan is the highest happiness index in the world, and yet there is nothing great to talk about. There's no productivity, there's no prosperity. The country is, you go back to nature, connect, stay with the woods, the flora and the fauna. They are just close to nature. There's nothing to talk about. They are the tamasic category. For sattva, I can't think of a society that's able to live up to the standards of a human potential. I'll give you an example. Sattva is perhaps to take, when you travel in a bullet train goes at a speed close to 450, 500 kilometers an hour, and you're traveling at that speed, but there's not a ripple in the teacup. There's not a ripple in your teacup, and yet you're traveling at 500 kilometers an hour. That is sattva. There's efficiency. At the same time, there's peace of mind. So a perfect action, please. A perfect action is something like this. Your body must be in the law of dynamics while your mind is in the law of statics. Remember this. Your body must always be dynamic while your mind must be calm and composed. This is a perfect state. Your body must be active. Your mind must be peaceful and balanced. This is sattvic action. And in order to perform sattvic action, you must have this wisdom to bring out dexterity and the peace. And how do you achieve that? So in order to achieve, I'll have to give you a solution as well, and perhaps encourage you to come and participate in a 1.5 day session. I'm not looking for participants here, please. I'm only trying to give you an opportunity to share and get the entire works of this wisdom so that you can work with it for your own benefit. But I'm giving you an insight. I want to give it all to you now, please. I don't want to hold back anything. But the two important aspects you need to fine tune so that it brings the best out of you. One is you must renounce the non-essentials of action. Now, as I've said, there are 3 types: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. In order to bring you to the best level of action, which brings about dexterity and peace, productivity and peace, what do you need to do? 2 elements. First is you must renounce the non-essentials of action. Second, you must identify with a higher cause. These are the 2 essential elements you need to inject into your action. First, renounce the non-essentials of action. What are the non-essentials of action? The non-essentials of action are your own selfish, egoistic attitude to work. The I and the my you bring into your work. Your own attachments, your own worries and anxieties, your own complexes, the fruits of your action. All the time you're thinking of what is in it for me. That selfish, aggrandizing attitude, the egoistic notion, I and my. You want to prove somebody inferior. There's a complex, there's a infight constantly. You're into an ego tussle. These are all the non-essentials. If you renounce all the non-essentials, renounce the ego, renounce your attachment, renounce your worries and anxieties, renounce the selfish attitude, renounce the complexes, renounce the fruits of action, the famous words of the Gita, karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Everybody knows it, nobody practices it. As I'm talking, all of you, I can see lip movement of those of you who are switched on. I know this, sir. I've heard from childhood. Many a time I heard this. So what's the point hearing it? You should practice it, no? Karmani eva adhikara. Your right is in karma, your action, not in the fruit. Renounce the fruit and perform the action. Once you get into that spirit of action, renouncing the non-essentials, you bring the best out of your action. So it is not renouncing action, please. It is living or acting with a spirit of renunciation. It's a beautiful concept, but it needs to be clarified. It's a very rich concept. I don't have the time. I'm giving you an insight. It is not renouncing action. It is operating in a spirit of renunciation. So first, renounce the non-essentials. The second important element that gives you, catapults you to the highest state of action is to perform action for a higher cause. You must work for the larger good of others. As leaders of the industry as you are, you must identify with a common cause, a common purpose, a common ideal, where everybody can be united, where everybody can shed their ego and selfishness and say, come and let's do something for a common purpose. We are all here for this purpose. Let's think in that interest. And the least you all can think is in the interest of the organization. And once you have that spirit of identifying with a larger cause, then you're happy to sacrifice yourself for the cause. I don't know how many of you heard this recently in the cricket. We heard that Virat Kohli, the current captain, who is a captain in all three formats, whether it be the T20 or the one-day cricket or the test match, he has recently announced that he is renouncing his T20 captaincy right after the impending T20 World Cup coming later this month. And when he announced that he is renouncing his captaincy for certain reasons, but when that announcement came, everybody in the cricket fraternity came applauding his decision to renounce his captaincy, saying it's an unselfish act in the interest of the team. There's nobody out there who's challenging his ability to perform, nor is he holding on to his position and say, I am the captain, I will be the captain. I am the president of this country, I want to be the president. How many people don't you see who have tasted power, don't want to let go of their power? I and my, it's mine. And you'll hold on when the whole country is against you, still you want to hold on. Not long ago, Robert Mugabe, Zimbabwe, isn't it? How long was he holding on to the presidency, and the country is going through anarchy, crisis, corruption, and yet he wants to hold on to power? Man, what attachment is that? So you must rise beyond your little self and think of a larger cause. So you empower your team. You initiate them to work for a common cause. You shed your own non-essentials and identify with a larger cause. It not only brings about peace and happiness within you, it also brings about success and prosperity for the organization, which indirectly transforms and benefits you. My dear friends, this in short is this wisdom, the grandness of this wisdom. If you are able to just remember, what is this eternal wisdom? Is nothing like a software update. Oh, what did you hear 1 hour? Something you're talking about. If somebody asks you, you can tell this software update I had to do because I need to be updated so that I don't become outdated. That's all. You get updated so that you don't become outdated. So you're in touch with the happenings. So you're in pace. You're able to enjoy the charm and beauty and the grandeur of life. The real grandeur of life, the real beauty of life is to get into that action which gives you both prosperity and peace. And you will be able to do that only when you fine tune your personality and draw out the hidden potential. I must assure you, and this wisdom has got in it to bring the best version of you, the polished version of yourself. And such a person is a true leader. Indeed, you're a true leader. But this gives you an insight as to what this program would offer. Now, if there's something you would want to clarify, I'll be more than happy. I know I've overshot by a few minutes. But if there's something you want to clarify, I'll be more than happy to do so. Any questions, please? Otherwise, I'm done. Thank you. I think Satishji, are you there? I'm sorry, I think a little while earlier he sent a message to me asking this question. Satishji, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm still there.
Great. So the question you're asking is, if fox is cunning and dog is loyal, it's just referring to the examples I had given, sugar is sweetness and summer is hot. What is human fundamentally? So you're asking me a spiritual question. Am I to answer from a spiritual point of view or from a management point of view? You tell me.
Probably I like from a management perspective, sir.
Management perspective. So what is a human fundamentally? Fundamentally, every human, with reference to the action, as I've said, every human has got a unique nature, which is known as a vasana. One is, let's say, you're all engineers, all right? So all engineers, as they say, birds of same feather flock together. All of your engineers are an engineering company, you have an engineering project, you are executing an engineering task. All are engineers. But engineering is just a vasana. It's just a field. Like all engineers will study engineering, all students for medicine will study medicine, all students for philosophy will study philosophy. But yet, amongst all engineers, amongst all doctors, amongst all philosophers, no two people are the same. Yet all of them are engineers, all of our doctors, all are philosophers. But what differentiates them is their mental state. So it is important as a leader, as a team leader, you should understand their mental temperaments. What kind of a temperament they have, whether they're a rajasic type, a tamasic type, or a sattvic type. So that you are able to relate with their strengths, with their weaknesses, you're able to assess their personalities, and you're able to harness their resources to direct it towards a common goal. For example, they could be a team player who's very effective, but he's very emotional. He gets very easily affected by anything that comes his way. He gets very excited, or very dejected, but he's a very hardworking guy. You must understand what kind of a person he is. So it is important that you understand their mental makeup. What is the modus operandi that they're operating on? It's not the field, all of you in the same field, but how you're operating and what determines that is the nature of their mind and intellect. So whether they are emotional people, whether rational people, whether they're active people or inactive people, whether they're passive people or aggressive people. And this is the nature of each individual in your team. And you need to understand the strengths and weaknesses, their personalities, so that you're able to harness and create a symphony so that it brings about a beautiful harmony within and prosperity and peace to the organization at large. But if there is disharmony, there is cribbing, there is internal conflict, there is mental accidents because of lack of right assessment, it brings about a discord. You're not able to align your goal actions to the common goal, and neither is there a prosperity to the organization, nor is there a personal success or satisfaction. So bringing in this wisdom in helping you to understand what is the software behind each individual. It's not the hardware I'm talking about, it's a software. And that alertness, that clarity is essential to establish a right relationship. I hope the message resonates, because I've liberally used certain terms which would be greatly and generously clarified in the entire workshop, but I've borrowed terms and I've used them in the context. For example, I've used passive and aggressive. I've used the term sattva, rajas, tamas, but I've given you a little insight. But no two human beings are the same.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the physicality, I'm talking about the inner nature. And that can be changed. That can be aligned. If it can't be changed, then you've got to endure it. I'm not talking of enduring it. I'm talking of adapting, relating, harmonizing. So it brings about ability in me to deal with what the world is throwing at me. Isn't it? The world is throwing, this is the team I have been presented with now. How do I deal with it? It depends on my ability to, sometimes you may have to put aside your ego as a boss or a team leader and go down to that level of a person. So it takes two hands to make a noise. If that guy has an ego, I am able to subdue my ego, liquidate my ego to such an extent that there is no clash at all, there is no conflict at all. It requires extraordinary spiritual capacity, that wisdom to subdue your ego. It's not me that matters, it's the cause that matters. See, so you're able to rise above your little self in the common interest. So there's no standard solution to a standard problem, it's a capacity to adapt and assess. All right, Satishji?
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah.
Most
Really
welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, sir. I don't get your name, please. Yes, please.
Namaskar, sir. I'm Sanjeev.
Namaskar, Sanjeev ji. Yes, sir.
I'm just carrying forward the same question what you have clarified just now. That when you work in an organization or when you interact with any person, so in a short duration, you never come to know whether the person is loyal, faithful, cunning, or what will be the nature of that person. And by that time, you deal with that person with a certain trust, faith, and you realize that it's all over. Things become totally different. The way you trusted or way you have taken that. That is the first part. So you have rightly said that you have to assess, but assessment sometimes takes a longer time. You don't know about the nature of the other person. That is the first part. Second is nature of human. I think human nature can be changed. Like if a person, you mentioned that fox is a fox or dog is a dog, but human is one whose nature can be changed. You agree on that part, or you have some other points to throw light on that, that there's no point of wasting time on that person. Instead of that, better to go ahead and accept the person as it is instead of changing the nature of that person.
Right.
Over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Commend you for brilliant questions. So the question you're asking firstly is, how do I go about making right assessment? Because it's rather difficult to understand the intent behind the action. It's not the action that you're mattered here. Why is that person doing that? So I suppose it directly depends upon the clarity of your intellect. If your intellect is sharp, if your intellect is brilliant, you'll be able to have that foresight. You'll be able to have that clarity to be able to see through. But if I don't have the intellect, what I do, I keep repeating the same mistake I have done again and again, again and again. So there's a saying, a wise man is one who learns from others' mistakes, a fool from his own. I can learn from my own mistakes, but if I don't even learn from my own mistakes, what do I call such a person, sir? We have to invent a new term. There's enough experience of having dealt with different types of people, but yet if I don't make the effort to learn from my experiences, experiences also is wisdom, sir, but you have paid the price of experience. We all have, haven't we? But if you are smart, you learn from others' mistakes. You'll learn from others. So it is that alertness. It is a faculty of the intellect. The question is, if I ask you, you have a muscle. Everybody is born with muscle. The question is, how strong is your muscle? It depends on whether you have exercised it. Similarly, is your intellect strong or not? Depends on whether you have given it the food of thought, which is these higher values. And if you have this, you will have the clarity to be able to make that assessment. So to answer your first question, you could call on your experience of your past experiences, draw the wisdom from that, and the clarity of your intellect to make that assessment. And if you have that eye, throughout the Shastras, they say, Yah Pashyati Sa Pashyati. The Sanskrit word which say, he who sees it, sees it. Sadly, I can't lend that vision to you, nor can you lend your vision to me, sir. If you have the eyes to see it, see it. As even John, I think it's in English language, said it only takes a Milton to understand a Milton. So you got to be a philosopher to understand philosophy. You need to have the intellect to know what intellect is. So one who has it, and you got to cultivate it. All right. And the second question you said, is it possible to change others' nature? Certainly so. You should try, you should attempt in bringing about a change, but the change can't happen with you wanting to bring about change. It is they intending to change. It's like you want to change me. It's not how much of you wanting to change me will change me. Is me wanting to change myself will change me, isn't it? So it's that self-effort that can bring about a change, but you can be very wise in setting a right example for the world to emulate. So if you're a leader in your organization, and as a leader you can set the right tone so that your employees and everybody in the organization can emulate you. So you become the symbol of change for them to follow, because you have set the right standards. And once in a while, you can give them a pep talk, inspire them, but you as a leader will lead the way. A leader never shows the way, a leader leads the way. And if you do that, over a period of time, you develop a certain consistency in your action, you will be noted and people will emulate you and bring about a transformation themselves. So it is possible, sir, certainly. But you got to be the example for them to follow. Does that clarify and help you, sir?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you very much.
Hari Om Guruji. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us today. As Vinayji beautifully pointed out, peace and prosperity are not an either-or alternative. And it is possible to achieve outstanding success with peace and harmony. And the mantra for this is to convert impoverished actions, disjointed actions of individuals into collective, resonant, inspired actions of a team. The concept is of resonance, where when you align, you achieve much more than the sum of the parts. So to sum up, eternal wisdom does have all the answers. It has the solutions. And the solutions are within each one of us. And do join our session on the 13th and 14th of November. And you would discover that it has these solutions, not just for any individual, it has the solution for you. And it has the solution, not just for any organization, but your organization. That is the important thing, that you will discover this roadmap to a successful, yet meaningful and happy life. Thank you very much. Just before I leave, I will share a screen which will tell you how you could, I'm sorry. Is there a screen which is coming on? No. Is there anything which is coming on? Just a minute, please. No. Right. Now, those of you, okay, let me just try the other thing.
Gayatrima, is there something that you can share? Yeah.
Okay. So the way to progress this further, if you are interested, I'm sorry, I had a slide which gave this information, but it is not coming up. But if you look at the bottom of this, just below wisdom inner management, and you could take a screenshot of this. There are 2 telephone numbers where you could WhatsApp us or contact us with your interest. And there are also some email IDs where you could write to us and we shall respond to you with the procedure. So I would repeat, just for clarity, you could contact Gayatrima at 9866009769, or you could contact me, Harish, at 9848033060, or you could write to us at bgelearning@gmail.com, or write to us at training@wisdomfoundation.co.in. We look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to continuing our dialogue, and look forward to all of us taking steps on this journey to a happier and more successful future for all of us. Thank you very much. God bless us all. And thank you very much, Guruji, for showing us the way.